The city of Baton Rouge is hurting, obviously, following the recent tragic killings of 3 of that city's police officers. It's the same pain we heard from Dallas Police Chief after 5 of that city's officers were ambushed and gunned down. Tragedies like those are already changing the way police do their jobs. Officers with the NYPD and Boston's and Chicago's police departments have now been told to patrol in pairs. More departments around the country are on high alert. We brought in LAPD Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey to talk about what we're seeing happening in the nation. And you have a specific perspective, being a female, being African-American, and having been in the LAPD. You had an over 20-year career with the LAPD, did you not?
Correct, during the most infamous times.
And one of the more painful times in the LAPD history, and yet here we are as a nation reeling from a series of events, every single one of them in their singularity take away our breath, but to have one after another is even more devastating. I'm really curious, what are the folks, for maybe other retired law enforcement people, what are they saying to you? What are you hearing from other officers on the street?
Well, we all have the same angst as community members because many of us are parents, right? We're mothers, we're fathers, we have young men who we're trying to raise, and so we have the same concerns that everyone else has about the safety of our children when they leave. And then we have that other thing as police officers where we're frustrated by what's going on, because certainly we want to come home at the end of the day to our families. And as a police officer, particularly if you're active, you're not able to really speak on it.
So do you find that when you're together, you speak about it? Is that a good place to sort of offload and share concerns and worries and frustrations?
Absolutely. In the company of one another, we can speak candidly, we can speak honestly, and we can get some of that angst off our chest. And hopefully, when those who are still active go back out into the field, they go back out with a clear head.
Well, that's the concern, right? When you see this happen in response to another senseless tragedy, you worry that it's going to perpetuate this vicious cycle of retribution. Is there that concern even among law enforcement that this will continue, this cycle?
Absolutely, it's a concern, and we understand that we're very vulnerable when we put that uniform on and we go out there. But we also understand that there needs to be a real dialogue between police departments and minority communities about what's causing this. We know that people are frustrated, people are fed up. I certainly hear it on social media. People reach out to me and they want accountability for those few officers who are tarnishing the badge and making it seem as if all police are conducting themselves inappropriately. And so unless and until there's accountability, unless and until police chiefs admit that there's a problem, then there's nothing to fix.
So we have been seeing some conversations start. We saw The Game and Snoop talking with the mayor and with the police chief here in LA. We've seen faith leaders. We've seen faith leaders in Dallas group together law enforcement and families who had lost their loved ones. We are seeing the conversation start. When do we see the fundamentals start to change? The training, the accountability, perhaps legislation. Is that the next step? Do you think that's an uphill battle?
Well, that's going to take some time, right? And so legislation, this is an election year, and it's important for people to go out and vote for those people in the positions of authority who value your lives and who think the way that you do. But these are going to be, it's not a one-pronged approach. It's going to take time, and understand that what we are experiencing is cultural, is systemic, and this has been ongoing within police departments across the nation for a long time.
The cultural thing, though, that's a hard one, right? I mean, we've been talking about this since our show launched. Our show is just a week old today, and we've had this conversation ongoing about the need for understanding. Understanding, right? What do you think people need to understand about being in blue?
They need to understand that we're just like you. When I put that uniform on, I don't have a cape. I'm just Cheryl in a blue uniform. I have responsibilities. I have bills. I have things that concern me outside of this job. And so you need to be able, as a police officer, to relate to that community as well as the community needs to be able to relate to you.
It is a two-way street.
Absolutely.
And do you think that this idea of community policing, we've been talking about it a fair amount for the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, even since Michael Brown, we lost him, we've been hearing for the need of community policing. You've seen aspects of that. Has it worked in your estimation?
I think it's important. I think we need to get back to that because, again, it helps the officers relate to the community, and it helps the community see a side of police officers that they're not accustomed to seeing. Most people deal with the police in a very unflattering way when they're getting a ticket, when they're going to jail. And so we want to interact with the public during good times. Let's have some baseball games. Let's have a steak fry. That's what we like to do on the police department, right?
I didn't know that Tommy Norman, we saw him, that officer in Arkansas, is doing just that. A lot of people are saying, hey, that's the right way to do it, is also in blue, be seen as doing good in your community, which we know officers have been doing for a long time. We have to end this us and them mentality. I mean, I think everybody, well, not everybody, sadly. I'd like to think everybody agreed with that, but maybe more people will start saying it out loud. Cheryl Dorsey, retired LAPD sergeant. Really a pleasure to have you here. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.